My name is Angela Klein. I'm with Zan Associates. I am working with the Met Council Environmental Services on the East Isle Sewer Improvements projects to help out with public communications. We are going to talk about the project, which is currently in the 60% design phase. So I've already introduced myself. I'll just let everyone else introduce themselves who will be presenting today.
Hi, my name is Chad Davison. I work for the Metropolitan Council. I'm the project manager, principal engineer for the owner of the force main repair.
Hello, my name is Rachel Kranz. I work for FOTH. We have been hired by the Metropolitan Council Environmental Services as the design consultant for this project.
Hi, I'm Colleen Odell. I'm a senior planner with Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board.
And I am Lisa Goddard, and I am with the City of Minneapolis Public Works Surface Water and Sewer Division. And I am the project manager for a flood improvement project that is being done in coordination with the Met Council's project.
Hi again, my name is Chad Davison. I'm the project manager for the Metropolitan Council Improvement Project that's in your area. Metropolitan Council has a department called the Environmental Division for the regional sewer and treatment utility for the Twin Cities. We serve all the 7-county metro area. Got over 600 miles of pipe in the ground that transport our flow to the 9 treatment plants that we own. This portion that we're looking at here takes flow from Plymouth, Hopkins, St. Louis Park, and Minneapolis. There's a pumping station out in Hopkins where this pressure pipe that's pumping the flow up to the Minneapolis system, or our system in Minneapolis, goes right through this neighborhood. So we're looking at replacing the pipe. Right now we've got one single pipe. If there's ever a problem with that pipe, the lift station can't stop. So there's, potential for spill and possible environmental impacts. So this project will install 2 pipes and allow us to swap from one pipe to the other if need be, if there's problems. Also allows us to assess the existing pipe and just for future knowledge and engineering. We're looking at 2021 construction. We're looking at contractor starting in April and would be done with utility work in November with some restoration, grass restoration being done in the fall, and then finishing up in the spring of 2022. So our pipe is existing as a 30-inch concrete pipe, and we're going to replace it with 24-inch PVC pipes. There is a storm sewer improvement that Lisa Goddard will talk about here in a little bit. Along with that storm sewer improvement, there's water main that needs to be replaced to meet the separation requirements of the water system and sewer systems. And then we plan to abandon the force main pipe that currently is on Irving, and then potentially remove that in the future if there's a city project or they're tearing up the pavement. So this is a map of the area. The current alignment of the force main comes through the channel, comes up to Bedeh-McCoska Parkway and ends, the dual pipes end at just east of Bedeh-McCoska Parkway on the mall. And then the existing old pipe is a concrete pipe that goes down the mall in the westbound lane, north side of the mall, comes down to Irving, then goes north along Irving on the east side of the road, where it discharges to a gravity pipe up at 27th Street, and then it flows down to a drop structure that drops down into our deep tunnel. It's about 35 feet deep. So that drop has some extensive corrosion in it. It's falling apart. So we need to replace that. And with the old alignment of Irving, if we were to put the new pipe and the same alignment as Irving, we would have to pump the flow around the work zone. So that would be very large pipes all along the mall and all the way up Irving. And I don't know if any of you were around 4 years ago when we rehabbed our deep tunnel. We did just that, and it was quite invasive and disruptive to the neighborhood. So this strategy allows us to use the force main at Irving while we construct on Humboldt, and then just a short duration where we're pumping around the work zone while we do the work in the mall. Turn it over to, I believe, Colleen.
Hi, everybody. This is Colleen. I'm a senior planner, landscape architect with Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, and I've been collaborating with Met Council in the city on this project since about half of it goes through the mall park. It also just so happens that it overlaps with a project that Park Board's in the middle of doing that I'm the project manager for, which is the Southwest Service Area Master Plan. You may have heard of it. If not, it's the last of 5 major master plans we've done to create 20 to 30 year future plans for all the neighborhood parks in the city. And we've already finished the rest of the city. Southwest is last. There's 43 parks and the mall park is one of those. So we spent the last 2 years, started back in May of 2018, going to over 170 different public events, talking to a lot of folks about what they'd like to see in their parks. And we worked with an appointed community advisory committee, which gave us recommendations for all the designs on the park, including the mall. And those recommendations came out at the end of last year. And in February of this year, we released the final draft of all of those. So those have been out online, and that public comment period on those final designs just closed earlier this month. So our staff is currently tabulating all those comments. And we're hoping that in October, we can bring the final draft plan with the comments to our board for a public hearing and hopefully adoption. So I just wanted to let you know that that was happening at the same time. This is the design that was recommended by our community advisory committee. And there's 3 major things I could point out on here. One is there's a new connection from Midtown Greenway through the mall up to Hennepin Avenue for people on bikes and walking. There's also a redesign of that eastern end where the mall meets Hennepin to make it a little more pedestrian friendly and a little more gathering friendly. There's also on the west end, removal of some parts of the streets and replacement with turf and a tree canopy. So those are some of the major recommendations that were made with this design. And as I said, it will hopefully be coming to a public hearing here in about a month and a half to 2 months. So I just wanted to give an update on that. If you have any questions, I'll be on later as well. Thanks. I'll turn that over to Lisa.
Hi, yes, and I'm Lisa Goddard with the City of Minneapolis Public Works Department. For those of you who have joined a little bit after the beginning of this presentation. So the city has been mapping flood areas throughout the city, and this is one of the areas that we have mapped, and maybe some of you who live in the area have experienced flooding that can occur on Humboldt Avenue and on private property in the area. The reason for that flooding is that the existing storm sewer system is quite small, can't handle the rain that we're getting, these intense rains, and we know that this is an increasing problem. And there's also not very many catch basin inlets on the street to help collect the runoff from those rain events. And catch basins are those grates that you see on the side of the road, the metal grates with, sometimes they have curb openings there too. So when Met Council approached us with their project a few years ago, we looked at it as an opportunity to study the flooding in this area, to really figure out what the best solution was, and saw this also as an opportunity to have the projects, I I guess, the construction of the two projects coincide so that we can make use of the cost efficiencies and minimize the number of times that we'd be disrupting the neighborhood. So the flood mitigation project will occur in two phases. The first you see on your screen. The second one, the second phase will take place sometime in the future, and we'll be doing that in coordination with the park board. So phase one replaces that small 15-inch storm sewer main with 48-inch diameter pipe. It runs from the low point on Humboldt Avenue, which is on the right side of the graphic you see there. And it runs to the south, which is to the left. It goes to the eastbound Mall Road, where it connects to an existing storm drain pipe. And along with the construction of the larger pipe, we will be adding several catch basin inlets to help improve drainage from that roadway surface. And one of the side effects, if you will, of doing the storm sewer work and the sanitary sewer work is that there's not enough separation between the existing water main and the larger storm piping. So we will have to replace about 550 feet of 8-inch water main along the length of that new storm sewer. There's also the possibility that, based on, I guess, our understanding of when the water services were constructed, that there's a possibility that 5 homes along this corridor have lead piping as their water services. So we don't know this for sure, but as we're opening up the ground and doing the digging in this area, if we do find any water services that have lead piping, those will be replaced from the main to the meter at the house along with the project. And then to facilitate all this work, to be able to construct the storm sewer and the sanitary sewer with minimal disruption to your water services, we will be adding some valve structures on either end to isolate the water main during the construction project. And I will now turn it over to Rachel.
So as Lisa and Chad have talked about, here again, you're seeing an overview of the entire project. So we have a combination of the installation of relocated water main that will be occurring on South Humboldt Avenue near the mall. We have the installation of that upsized storm sewer, as well as the installation of these new force mains that Chad explained more previously. So this work will be phased. As Chad mentioned earlier, we are doing that in order to minimize the impacts to Irving Avenue and limiting the need for a bypass system. So the intent is to use the existing force main for as long as we can. So as Chad mentioned earlier, we anticipate construction to begin in early 2021. And we anticipate that the contractor will begin work near the intersection of the mall and Humboldt. So we anticipate the work on Humboldt Avenue to occur as the first phase of work, and that would be beginning in April of 2021. The second phase of work would then be for the contractor to come in and do the installation of the remaining force main along the mall from Bidet-Makaska Parkway over to Humboldt Avenue, and that would likely begin in July or August of 2021. We're going to talk a little bit more detail about the specific locations, and we're going to start at the downstream end and then move our way to the end of this project. So the project begins near Bidet-Makaska Parkway, where we're going to connect to the existing system. We're going to move east and cross underneath James Avenue. There's some water main and some storm sewer that we're going to cross through there. Through the mall area, there will also be temporary conveyance piping. So For those of you that live in the neighborhood, you saw this with the project that Chad mentioned earlier, the large black pipes that you'll see laying on the ground. Just like with the previous project, the pipe will be buried at any of the roadway or sidewalk crossings so that access will still be available for residents. And then final restoration in this particular area will follow the master plan as Colleen mentioned it earlier. As we continue east on the mall, we are going to have the installation of the force main all the way, again, crossing Irving Avenue. So there will be a temporary disruption to the traffic on Irving Avenue at that time. This is all open cut work. So there will be large equipment, excavators, and trenches in the roadway. At Irving Avenue, there's a crossing of water mains, there's a crossing of storm sewers. So we are working with City of Minneapolis staff, Lisa, as well as with the water department to coordinate and minimize any impacts to the residents in the area. Again, the temporary conveyance piping will be at grade along the Midtown Greenway. So we're working with Hennepin County Regional Rail Authority on that as well. And then you can see on the right side of the screen, the orange and the blue. The orange represents the proposed storm sewer that Lisa described to you earlier, and the blue is the relocation of the water main. Then we continue our way north on the mall. So I would like to mention at this location, we're going to have an open cut crossing of the Greenway. We know that this is a heavy utilized corridor, and we are working with the City of Minneapolis as well as some of the other associations and organizations in the area so that we can minimize the impact to the Greenway, and will be providing a detour during the time of construction. There will be impacts to the sanitary sewer along the east side of Humboldt Avenue that will occur just by nature of the new force main being deeper in the ground than the other pipes. There will be gas main relocation by Centerpoint, which will occur by Centerpoint prior to the start of this construction project. So you will also see their construction crews in the area. We will remove and replace the concrete curb and the asphalt pavement through this area. And again, it'll get replaced as it is now. As Lisa mentioned earlier, there may possibly be impacts to trees along the west side of Humboldt Avenue. The details of that are still in the works. We are trying to find methods to minimize impact to any of the trees, and we'll work with the park board forester for any of those impacts. As Lisa mentioned earlier, for the water main relocation, there will be temporary service to homes. For those of you that may not have seen that in the past, it will be pipes that are run across the ground and connected to an exterior spigot in the house. And that provides water service at the time that this main is being moved. As we continue north on Humboldt Avenue, it's similar impacts here. However, at this location and as we continue north, we are only doing the installation of the force mains here. The water main and storm sewer work are south of here. So there will be impacts to the sanitary services on the east side of Humboldt, since the force mains will be along the eastern side of the roadway. Again, the gas main relocation, removal and replacement of the eastern curb, and then also replacement of the existing pavement in kind, meaning that what is there now will be the same thing going back in. So as we work our way north, you can see on the left side of the screen here, we have 28th Street. On the right, which is to the north, is 27th. Again, the installation of the force main will have disruptions to sanitary service on the east side of Humboldt Avenue, and water service crossings as well. There will be storm sewer removal and replacement in some of the areas, as well as gas main relocation through this stretch that you see on the screen too. Removal and replacement of the curb on the eastern side of the roadway. And as Chad mentioned when he was talking about this system, the force mains end and then it transitions from the pressure system dropping down deep into a gravity system, which is about 35 feet deep. So there will be a large excavation at the intersection of Humboldt and 27th. That entire intersection for a period of time will be closed. The excavation will be 35 feet deep. So the contractor will use some kind of a retention system so that they can minimize the size of that excavation and try to minimize the impacts to the area. So that any impacted utilities in that intersection will be restored to their existing conditions, as well as the road and curb and any impacted pedestrian crossings. So any of the curb cuts or all of that will be replaced when the sewer work is complete. So as Chad mentioned, there will be temporary conveyance needed. So what the temporary conveyance allows us to do is it allows us to remove the existing flow out of the pipe so that the contractor can safely work in the area. And it also prevents any unnecessary spills or anything like that. So this keeps all of the sewage contained and we're able to create a safer working environment for the contractor. So there will be temporary conveyance needed for that very deep work occurring at the intersection of 27th and Humboldt. So what will likely be seen from your point of view as you're driving down the road is you may see some of that black temporary conveyance piping, larger diameter, probably 24-inch or so, multiple pipes that will be laying on the ground. There will be pumps in the area as well, and Metropolitan Council requires the contractor to use methods to minimize any sound or any odor impacts to the neighborhood. So one of the most important things, of course, to you living in the neighborhood and those of you that use this area are the road closures. So as we talked about, this work will be performed in stages. You can see the areas highlighted in pink are anticipated to occur between April and July of 2021. And the intent is that the contractor will restore the roadway to a drivable condition. So likely rock would be installed at the end of each working day to provide emergency access and access to homes. So keep that in mind. There may be short-term immediate impacts to your driveway or to some of the through streets throughout the day will be closed, but the intent is to provide residential access in the evening as much as possible. But just to be aware that during the day, getting in and out from the home may be difficult. So as you would expect with large scale construction, the contractor will do their best to restore everything at night and make sure that everything is safe for the public. The second phase of the work, which we anticipate to begin in July of 2021, will be on the mall. Again, there will be a road closure there on the westbound lane for the installation of those new force main pipes. There will be some interruption on the north-south streets that are crossing as well. And again, the intent is to keep those as minimal as possible. One other thing to mention is that once this new system is installed and everything is running, the intent is to abandon the existing force main that runs in Irving Avenue. Chad mentioned that at some future date, if the city is doing a project in the area, they're redoing the road, at that point in time, that existing pipe will get removed. But for now, we have to abandon it. So part of that abandonment process means that we need to fill that pipe with material just so that it doesn't cause any collapse issues or anything like that as it's just sitting there empty and unused. So we will have to dig in to access that pipe, and that will be on Irving Avenue, just south of 28th Street. A small excavation, limited, shorter term impact than what will be seen at the other roadways. So as we have been talking about, we are currently in the planning phase of this work. I believe that Angela mentioned this at the very beginning. We're at 60% of design. So we are continuing to work with agencies. We are continuing to communicate with the permitting agencies, as well as the community groups, other organizations like the Art Fair, the Greenway Coalition. All of these things are very important for this impacted neighborhood. So we stay involved with all of those organizations. Construction will start in spring of 2021. Anticipated the end of 2021 with the potential for some seeding and surface restoration in 2022. As I mentioned a little bit already, some of the next steps for us are going to be continue to work with organizations. So we are in the early phases of proposing and working on vehicle, bicycle, and pedestrian detour routes, working with the city of Minneapolis and their traffic department, working with the local agencies and organizations, as well as doing community event coordination like with the art fair, as I mentioned. The final design and bidding process will be completed in early 2021, and then there will be another public meeting prior to construction in 2021. And we anticipate actual construction activity to begin in the spring of 2021. For those of you that want to keep in touch, or if you have any questions about this project, there's contact information for you here. The email address, info@eastislesewerproject.com, as well as the phone number and the website hosted by the Metropolitan Council. So please feel free to reach out individually with any questions that you have at the phone number 612-439-5225, at the email address, or also by visiting the website, which is www.metrocouncil.org/sewer construction/East Isles. There will be more information on there. If you want to sign up for project emails, the email updates will begin once construction starts. But that is other ways that you can get information about the project as it moves along.